And I'm going to announce a couple of them, just to have them for folks who might be listening in. Under Economic Development, there's ratification of the County Administrator's approval of an amended grant application to U.S. Economic Development Administration for an additional grant of $3.8 million to fund a portion of the design, construction, and equipping of the Tampa Bay Innovation Center Incubator. That's item 10 under Economic Development. Under Public Works, number 11, a ranking of firms and agreement with Pannoni Associates for preliminary engineering, planning, and environmental services pertaining to the Complete Streets project of 54th Avenue North from 49th Street North to 34th Street North, $538,000 and change for engineering services and for a preliminary engineering report. Item 12 under Public Works, ratification of County Administrator's approval of the cooperative agreement with the Federal Highway Administration for the Advanced Transportation and Congestion Management Technologies Deployment Program for Pinellas Connected Community Project. This is one for US 19 and State Road 60 corridors. It's a $10,911,000 number, $4,600,000 from the feds, and $6.2 million from our 9-cent fuel tax. And then finally, under utilities, ratification for county administrators' approval of the Resilient Florida grant application with the Florida Department of Revenue. The state ask is for $38,401,000 grant, of which we're matching $23,449,000. So it's a large grant application for some funds. With that said, do I have a motion for approval for the consent?
Oh, hold on.
Yep.
I'd like to pull number 11.
Oh, excuse me, Chuck. Okay, we'll pull number 11. So a motion, yes.
And I'm sure that this was discussed, and I had mentioned it to Barry when I talked to him on the phone. The ATMS project, as well as the resiliency, I'm all in favor of doing the grants. I just would like to have a better presentation and knowledge about exactly what we're going to do with these grant monies.
You want it today?
We don't have to do it today.
That's fine.
But I'd like to have a better clue as to what exactly the, especially the traffic control new software, what all that's going to do.
If it's okay, I'll just have a staff report, and we can send you a staff report regarding the details of the project, of each project. Is that okay? Or do you want a presentation?
Do you have somebody here that can talk briefly to number? This is number 12, right?
Kelly here, and Tom's here. So, yeah. We have
Okay,
staff
so
here.
let's pull number 11 that Commissioner Justice asked for, and we'll pull number 12. And did you want to pull 13 as well?
I guess I'm just trying to figure out, utilities building, hardening. Again, I know we need to do some of this with resiliency, but, what does it mean? Are we going to put in new windows? Are we going to rebuild to Category 5?
We have staff here.
Okay, we'll pull number 13 as well. Okay. 11, 12, and 13 will be pulled. We had a motion by Commissioner Long on the balance of the consent. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Justice. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. And now we'll address number 11, Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We talked briefly about this on Thursday. I just wanted to get an update of where we were at in the process so I fully understood as we're going into the design phase so the public understands where we are on a timeline.
Kelly has a great explanation of that. She sent it to me this morning because we thought there might be questions.
All right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. With regard to this project, the preliminary engineering report is 1 year. You may recall in 2018 there was some conceptual complete streets discussions as part of the Linking Lillman activities. No consensus really came out of that, just a lot of ideas and a lot of areas where they thought concerns, should be addressed. That, information has been folded into this so that the consultant has it. And really what we're going to do here is we are going to look at a variety of alternatives. I do want to clarify that, sometimes people hear the word complete streets and all of a sudden, the first thing that comes to mind is we're a lane diet or a lane elimination, and that is not the case. What we're doing is we're looking at all the alternatives, including don't do anything, and all the different iterations of that, so that we can bring forth that to the public and make the best recommendation for what the preferred alternative should be. So the community will get to see a wide variety of examples. A lane diet might be, or lane elimination may be one of them. Road expansion could be another. Again, the no-build alternative is also in there, as well as some others. So all of that will be brought to the public, for their consideration in this process. We have a strong public outreach component to this, from both the consultant kind of supporting the county, and the county will be actually leading those efforts with the community. The other piece is that we wanted to make sure that the traffic evaluation is connected to the 62nd Avenue. Obviously, those corridors are very important. The traffic consultant that is a sub on this proposed project is the prime on 62nd Avenue. So those traffic analyses will be done together, and the data will be used from both to support the other, so that we make sure we have a really good look at what the traffic is. It's projected out to be in 2045.
Very good, thank you. Some of those conceptual renderings from a few years ago are still floating around, and at least one of them scares the heck out of some folks. So that's why I wanted to make sure I was on the same page with you on our timeline and what we were doing. And I think hearing that connection to 62nd is even better, considering the Amazon distribution center going there, and then how it will connect through the side streets and 58th as well. So I appreciate the explanation.
Yeah. And we did have a very good conversation with the consultant about Amazon today, and got some really great feedback. Their peak times are actually 9 a.m. and 10 p.m., so kind of outside the normal peak times. Additionally, they have 3 employee shifts, none of which correspond to peak travel times. So it did not, based on the data that was provided from Amazon's consultants, we really did not see any issues with that affecting congestion or anything. So that was good news to hear this morning. And again, just a very, very strong commitment to the community that there is no perceived outcome here.
Very
at
good.
all.
Move approval.
Okay, you have a motion and a second by Commissioner Seal. Any other questions? Okay, did you get that, Kat, on the motion second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 12, Commissioner Seal. I think you explained it a little bit, but.
Yeah.
Yes, I just, having been the proponent and bringing this technology originally many, many years ago to Pinellas County, US 19 and State Road 60 were innovative technology way back then, and we were the test bed, if you all don't know that, for part of the United States for these technologies, and they probably haven't worked as well as we would like. So I'd like to understand what the difference of what we're putting into place now is going to be, and whether it will finally improve State Road 60.
All right. Thanks.
Tom Washburn,
Washburn, Division Director of Public
Welcome,
Works
Tom.
Transportation. Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Yeah, this is the ATC MTD grant is a grant through the Federal Highway Administration. It's intended to build upon large-scale pilot connected vehicle technologies. So last year or 2 years ago on US 19, we worked with DOT and started what we called a SPAT challenge, where we put some detection units along the side of US 19, which communicated with vehicles and provided them with signal phasing and timing information for the signals that were upcoming. This project is intended to build upon that to cover the rest of US 19 down to the south, the entire section of State Road 60, and also McMullen Booth Road. And what we've proposed is several different types of detection technologies, one for each of the corridors, again, to help FHWA evaluate the technologies, see how it's performing, seeing if it's determining if it is meeting the requirements of the connected vehicle platform, the smart cities technologies, and to see how it communicates with our system and make sure it works with the system that we've got in place. Specifically, we're looking.
So are we getting new software or
It's a
to go
combina-
along with this, or are we using what we've had previously?
Yeah, our intention is to use the software that we have. We're just right now in the process of updating our central software to an Econolite platform. So the goal is to
Okay.
make sure that what we implement works with our system, or if there is additional software, that it communicates seamlessly with what we have. Different types of roadside detectors to see what performs the best. The focus for this project for us is pedestrian and bicycle safety, communicating through the smartphone apps, real-time information for vehicles to let them know if there's a pedestrian that's intending to cross, for pedestrians to let them know that vehicles are approaching. Same thing with bicyclists. So it's again, exploring that connected vehicle technology on a larger platform. There are monthly meetings with FHWA with all the grant applicants over the years. They call it a cohorts meeting, where we get together on a monthly basis, and each of the agencies talks about their projects, talks about what's going right, talks about the challenges that they're having. But again, this is the FHWA to really build upon a standard type of connected vehicle technology moving forward.
Okay. So not to be concerned, but I am. I was in a parking lot one day, and a bicyclist was looking at a smartphone and totally ignores me and flips over my car. So are we going to be encouraging bicyclists and pedestrians to be looking at their smartphones all the time?
No, not at all.
I mean, how is that going to work?
If you're familiar, I don't know if you're familiar with Google Maps or Waze
Yes.
for travel. A lot of that is verbal communication, so the intention is not to have anybody looking down at their phone, but is to provide that real-time information. You know, if you're using the Waze, if you're familiar with that, if you're driving along, it'll tell you that there is a road on the side or a car on the side of the road up ahead. It's a verbal command. You don't look down at your phone. It's not intended to have you, it's not intended to distract anybody from what they're supposed to be doing.
So same thing, when they're notified in the car, it'll be done verbally?
Correct.
Okay. The technology is so interesting. I'm just worried about all of it, coming in.
Yeah, and that's really the purpose of this program that FHWA has set up, is to address those type of issues and to identify them.
And then with all of these vehicle detection units, will this then make the traffic signal system work more consistently by telling where the vehicles are, the speeds,
That's another component, is to address the congestion, absolutely.
And then how are we testing it? How are we proving whether it is effective or not?
There are reporting mechanisms, so obviously before and after studies. We'll be monitoring crashes before and after crash data. We'll be looking at response type information. How responsive is the information getting to the person that needs it, and are they able to make adjustments in their travel pattern appropriately?
Any other communities getting this kind of technology or already have it?
Hillsborough County they're applying for a grant next year. FDOT currently has a grant, the same grant. They're working on interstate connected vehicle technology. We did provide a letter of support for Hillsborough County. We will be a partner with them. This particular grant, we're partners with PSTA, FDOT, Forward Pinellas, City of Clearwater, City of St. Pete.
But any other communities in the United States already doing this?
In some form or fashion, yeah. The FHWA has had this program for years, so there are deployments, and I can get you specifically the information, but there are deployments across the country.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Tom, while I've got you here, when we see areas like I was traveling on Alt 19 at Curlew and Alt 19 at Tampa Road, and the backup, and then we're not in season yet, and it wasn't during rush hour, and the traffic at Curlew was backed up all the way to Michigan. That's beyond a light, and further. So that wasn't season, it wasn't, what are we doing? I mean, I know we're going to have we're looking at a new intersection there to help with the safety getting through that intersection, but what kind of things can we bring to bear for that kind of traffic issue? I really don't know what we can do. It's just horrible, and people are waiting probably 4, 5, 6 cycles to get through the light midday.
Yeah. In general, the reason we started the system in the first place was to have sensors and detection that would feed back to our traffic control center, provide us the information. So on those corridors that we have the ATMS system, we do get that feedback when their congestion starts to occur. There are ways to set up the system so that if it's abnormal congestion, we'll get an alert. Our operators will get an alert. Helps us identify if there might be a crash, if there might just be some congestion, if there might be something going on with the signal that we need to address. These systems are very sensitive to the detection, and so we spend a lot of our effort and a lot of our time making sure the detection continues to work. Our CCTV cameras, the detection that we have in the road for the vehicles, significant effort.
Well, please take a look at those two, because that's just getting out of hand.
I've got some information for you on
Yeah.
Alt 19 and Curlew.
Yeah. Alt 19, Curlew.
Yep.
Back up, south and northbound, depending on what time of the day you are. But it's, again,
Yep.
go ahead, Commissioner.
I was just going to say, if we're going to sit here in the county commission meeting and talk to Tom about some of the congestion that we're experiencing ourselves on the highway or that we see, I've got about 6 intersections I'd really like to get on your radar about
Good.
that are, absolutely just horrific and accidents waiting to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think we're talking about technology here. We're talking
Yeah.
about ways to move traffic and move it safer. And we've got problems all over the place, and I just wanted to make sure that he's aware. The system is not calling our central location to tell them we've got problems here and leave the light on longer.
Obviously.
So, because it's really out of control.
I
But,
agree with
And
David.
when you have those locations, please send them my
Yeah.
way. Please
Yeah.
send them our way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you.
I'll be right on it.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Do I have a motion on item 12?
Move to approve.
Second from Commissioner Gerard. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 13. Commissioner Seal? Oh, I think you introduced that also, and
Specifics is, are we talking, I mean, when we built out at Drew Street in 19, we obviously hardened the walls, but I mean, what are we talking about here that we're thinking about doing on these specific projects, just generally?
yeah.
Sure, and I can give a little bit of background on the actual grant program, if you'd like.
Yep.
But, so the Resilient Florida Grant Program, it's one of the first of its kind. It was $640 million, statewide program, and really was aimed to support efforts to ensure state and local communities are prepared to deal with the impacts of sea level rise and intensified storms and flooding. So the bill was signed into law in May of this year, and DEP opens the grant portal in July 1st of this year. And so part of this program, which is the projects that we're applying for, is $500 million in ARPA funds, specifically to fund infrastructure projects within the water resources area. So that's where these projects came from. 4 of the 5 projects are in our capital budget, so they are planned projects. The one that is not in our budget is the mobile home park upgrades, because those are private systems. So we're looking for funds for those. Specifically, the utilities building hardening project is going to address multiple facilities. We had done a wind classification study a few years ago on all of our facilities as a result of Irma, just to understand what category our buildings were under. The majority of our utilities buildings didn't have any category associated with them, so we really didn't know what they could withstand. And we found some pretty significant vulnerabilities there. I mean, some buildings that, for example, our water quality building that could not even withstand a Category 2 storm. So we're looking at Logan Laboratory. That will be a brand new laboratory facility because it was deemed just inadequate to even be able to do any upgrades to the existing building. the South Cross Bayou Water Reclamation Facility Operations Support Center, the dewatering building there, and the Education Center, as well as the General Maintenance Division Operations Center, which is where our Utility Operations Center is hosted out of. Those buildings will be hardened. So yes, a lot of them will receive new windows. They're looking at actually implementing structural upgrades to the walls. So they're looking at each building individually to determine the specific needs that need to happen at those facilities. The other projects, specifically the Pinellas Park Interceptor, that is an SSO mitigation project. So Pinellas Park, as you know, is a wholesale sewer customer, and all of their flows come in through this interceptor. And traditionally, it's been a hotspot for SSOs. So we are implementing a project to build a pressurized force main from Pinellas Park to the facility and eliminate that SSO. The Dunn electrical upgrades, again, an engineering study was done as a result of Irma that showed that facility lost power after Irma, and so a study showed that the electrical systems weren't providing the Class 1 reliability that is required. So that is that project. Pump station generators, pretty self-explanatory. We're trying to implement backup power to all of our lift stations. So this will address a number of lift stations in terms of backup power. And I think you're all somewhat familiar with the mobile home park wastewater collection systems. 15 mobile home parks in the South County service area were identified to upgrade those systems because they are contributing to significant flows into the sewer system during rain events. Okay?
SSO. Tell me what.
Sanitary sewer overflow. It's when raw sewage
Yeah.
overflows in our system.
Well, we have
Yeah.
a major issue in that Pinellas Park area.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Any other questions for Megan? Yes.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not really a question. Just want to I was glad that you clarified that these were all in our normal plan anyway. It's always good to go after grant money. I think we should always go after grant money, but we don't want it to be the dictator of our plan. So I appreciate that info.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Justice. That was sort of where I was going.
Yeah,
Was
and
because it was like, oh, are we now looking at $23.5 million we have to budget? Thank you, Megan.
And again, Megan, I think one of the things that we've heard from some residents about our utility rates, especially on the sewer side, going up significantly, but we're doing an awful lot of capital projects, and some of these, I'm assuming, fall into that enterprise fund.
Yes, they do, and that's a good point because this grant, the Resilient Florida grant, was one of the first that offered a significant amount of money towards wastewater systems. You know, we don't typically see that, so we really did want to take advantage of any monies that we could get to help support those systems.
Yeah. So just as another point for another time, but in our rate calculations, we don't assume any of the outside funding. Is that right? That we get from grants?
Not at this time. Our last rate study didn't assume that because we hadn't obtained those grants,
Right.
but we'll be initiating another rate study, and if these grants are awarded, that will all be taken into account at that time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Megan? We're good. Thank you.
All right.
Do I have a motion for item 13?